I know that one of the number one things women like or need or crave in a marriage is to feel safe, connected, protected, and like they're on a team with their husband. So in this video, I'm going to show you one of the most exciting things that I've ever developed, and it's giving amazing results for my clients. So if you want to learn how to transform your arguments into intimacy, keep on watching for goodness sakes, and please put it into practice. My name is Janna Denton-Howes, and I am a marriage coach and creator of two programs, the 30 Days to Wanting It More and the Marriage Mastery Club. I also work with couples one-on-one if that's what you're looking for. So this is powerful. If you can master this technique, it's only a two-step process. You are going to go the distance in your relationship. This is so life-changing. This is Okay, I'm just going to get to it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the tool. It's called the Intimacy Intervention. I developed it, and I use it. I developed it because actually I just received an email today from a client who was saying, oh my gosh, Janna, this is working miracles in my marriage. I've been doing years of therapy, and this is changing things for me. And it's describing communication and how to use communication in ways that I've never experienced. So it so works. I am going to use a very real and raw argument that my husband and I had last night and continued into this morning. Luckily, we have this tool, so we transformed it into intimacy, but it's about a topic that is a growing edge for us. For the most part, in the 17 years we've been married, we've been able to tackle most big things, sex being the biggest thing we've ever dealt with. And now it is so nice not to have that be an issue. But money is something that both of us really struggle with because money for me represents safety. I like to think that I'm a saver. So usually for savers, money is about safety. They like to have a nice, contingency fund, no debt, just a clear budget, and, planning for the future and retirement. If that's you, you're probably like nodding your head. For people who are more like spenders, their money represents for them freedom and enjoyment and excitement, and what can they buy with it, what can it exchange for them, what kind of adventure and how many times can I say adventure? So that is my husband. That's what money represents for him. So you can imagine a saver and a spender, safety and excitement. It's a little hard to figure things out. So if that's you, well, good luck to you. But I hope that this tool helps you. So it is called, hope you can see this, the Intimacy Intervention. So I'm going to go through this process of a regular argument and kind of what my husband and I went through last night and recovered from. Phew. Just to give you a clear example. So I know there's a lot of arrows and a lot of words here, but just follow along with me and don't get too far ahead. Okay, so it always starts with a trigger. This is something that your partner does or says that creates a negative emotion in you, such as anger, rage, or defensiveness. Okay, so in my case, my husband came into the bedroom. I was super exhausted, by the way, and he said, I would like to buy a new car. Not like a brand new car, but just a new car. Suddenly, I had a negative emotion. I felt fear because, again, money represents safety to me, but mostly I just felt angry. I felt like my husband had thrown me under the bus, had not cared about my needs, wasn't respecting our desire to save for a house or, plan for retirement or anything. I just suddenly felt like it was very, very unsafe and scary to be with him. Generally speaking, you're going to have that fight or flight response, which gets me to the next stage in the typical cycle of an argument, which is reaction. What are you doing then once you've had that negative emotion? For me, it's generally yelling. Usually everyone has a flavor of reaction. A lot of people, the two most common ones being yelling and arguing, or shutting down and being quiet. Guess what happened when I started to yell at my husband? I know, it's hard to believe this sweet thing can yell, but I did. And it triggered him, right? Then it becomes a new cycle. Boom, right down to negative emotion again. And his flavor is what in this moment was defensiveness. Then he had a reaction, which was his voice started to get louder. He started to list all the ways and partly blaming and criticizing. Well, you're not that great with money, and you did the X, Y, and Z. Back now, it's a trigger for me. You can see how this will go on and on and on. That's why when you have a lot of arguments, a lot of couples will say, I don't even know what began. I can't even remember what we were arguing about. And because it has nothing to do with what you were arguing about, it has everything to do with this purple little thing over here, your interpretation. So what you're seeing is a trigger to negative emotion, to reaction, trigger, negative emotion, to reaction, but there's a sneaky little thing going on here, something your brain is doing, which is a trigger happens. So for example, in my case, my husband came into our bedroom and said, I'd like to buy a new car. My interpretation of that was, you don't care about me. Because again, me and money are about safety. And, if you're going to spend money, you're making it really unsafe for me to be in this relationship. And I have no control over it, which feels super, super scary. So it's all about the interpretation. The interpretation is what leads to the negative emotion, the reaction, the trigger, interpretation, and negative emotion. So it becomes really critical for you to be able to figure out what your interpretation is. Right now, you might be trying to read that. It says, they think I'm lazy. So common interpretations are, I'm not important to you. I'm not a priority. No matter what I do, it's never enough. I'm not enough for you. You don't care about me. You don't love me. I'm not safe with you. I mean, I can go on and on because there are a lot of options here. I'm being abandoned is another one women generally will go for. So the idea is to, okay, we're human. We're going to have triggers. Okay, we're human. We're going to have negative emotions, but it's to not get to the reaction. This is the place. This is the red zone. I should have made it red. You don't want to get here. Okay, no reaction. So instead, you want to stop it there. You see that very strong stopping mark there. And you want to employ the intimacy intervention. Bah, bah, bah. And yes, I use this in my marriage. This isn't some theoretical gobbledygook that I read in a book and now I'm just kind of puking over onto you, where we're all just going to have all this theoretical stuff because I hate that. No, I use this. I used this morning, thankfully. So what ended up happening is my husband was in the shower and I was sitting on the bathroom floor, as you do with, these heated discussions. And I thought, what is the interpretation I'm having? That's where you've got to go. What's going on here? And I thought, okay, money's about safety for me. And I'm feeling like he doesn't care about my desire to feel protected and safe. He's literally, I'm going to say it again because it was how it felt. He's throwing me under the bus. He's just like, okay, see you later. Things are more important than you, which hurts, I can tell you. But it's my interpretation. This is my brain. This is my brain making those interpretations. So you go back, you figure out, so this is a step one of the intimacy intervention. You figure out your interpretation. Very, very critical. I spend a lot of time with couples here. So if you have a hard time, let's work together because it's very hard sometimes to get out of your own head. You figure out your interpretation and you share it with your spouse. It feels really awkward at first, but you do it. You say, I think I just interpreted what you said or did to mean that you don't care about me. Next step two of the intimacy intervention, ask the vulnerable question. The vulnerable question is easy once you have figured out your interpretation. It's just flipped around. It is, do you care about me? If your interpretation was, I'm not important to my husband or spouse, then the vulnerable question would be, am I important to you? Okay. If your interpretation was, I can never do enough, then the vulnerable question is, am I enough for you? Just as I am, messy parts and all. The tricky part about this is that asking the vulnerable question can become a trigger for your spouse. So they might think, well, of course you're important to me. Look at all the things I do to show that you're important to me. What do you mean? And then they can trigger them because they're making an interpretation now that they're not enough. Okay? Negative emotion, reaction, trigger. So this is, sometimes doing this feels like you're fighting for your marriage. Like you're not fighting in your marriage, but you're fighting for your marriage. And it is, I often will say, a battle against your own ego. It's not a battle against your spouse. So ask the vulnerable question. And then if your spouse reacts positively, yes, of course you're important to me. Or I deeply care about you, or yes, you're enough. All the little pieces, even the pieces that I don't love all that much, I still like all of you, the whole of you. Bam, that feels good. It just feels good to have that. Suddenly, it is my absolute pleasure to be able to witness this in session with couples. The walls go down, the fog is lifted, and suddenly there are just two vulnerable people who just want to be loved and cared for and seen and protected and desired and admired. Men are desired, admired, and women are connected and protected. I just came up with this morning as I was curling my hair in the bathroom. So good job for me. It's all about the rhyming, folks. Please go and try this in your marriage. Try it today, because I guarantee you something will be triggered. You will be triggered at some point in this day, because it just happens that frequently. My challenge to you is to identify your interpretation. That is the first step. And it's not easy, but if you can nail it, if you can figure out what you're interpreting, you are golden, and you can transform your potentially disastrous arguments, because arguments are just like kind of an annoying thing. They can cause so much, like a negative spiral in your relationship, and then they take a lot of time to repair the damage. So for goodness sakes, like, just skip all that and have connection instead, okay? It's not about shoving your feelings down. It's not about talking about the real things. For goodness sakes, this is the real thing, okay? That's why you have patterns and arguments in your relationship that goes on and on and on. If you try this, or if you're thinking right now, you're watching and you're thinking, that sounds hard, it's because it is hard, right? Especially if we've just so used to this pattern in our life. I do work with couples, so please send me an email, Janna Denton-Howes, and I hope that I can work with you guys. You might have to go on the waiting list, but it's worth it. I promise. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.